Mayo experience.
That Mayo experience. That Mayo experience. That Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to another edition of the Dogger Pass Podcast. This for UFC Fight Night Apex. I versus Calvillo. Paul Shaughnessy joined by phone by Cody Saftic. Coming off of the heels, it was a card that our picks weren't all that bad, but Hooper, we kind of laid out the path for Cifers to do it, and it's like he knew exactly. It's like he's a professional fighter who knows exactly what to do in these situations. So Hooper looked like the 20-year-old that he is, but, onwards and upwards we go. How are you doing this week, Cody?
Yeah, good. Last week we went 7-5 on the 12 fights. So, it wasn't disastrous, but at the same time, not the same results people are probably accustomed to at this point. But this looks like a pretty good offering. I know a lot of people are crapping on it, saying, the UFC's packing it in, and they have all sorts of worries about the main event, and is it a weak card and this and that. But it does look like there's a couple good spots where the odds aren't crazy out of control. Maybe get a couple safe picks along the way. So, I'm actually excited to just jump right back into it.
Let's jump right into it right now, then. We have in the main event, we have Jessica Evil Eye taking on Cynthia Calvillo. Jessica Eye and Cynthia Calvillo can both be had for -110. It's basically been a pick 'em across the board this week. Cody, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, obviously it's a pick on both sides because either fighter has the capability of winning this contest. It just depends who's going to employ the better game plan, I guess. I'm leaning towards Jessica Eye personally, just because I feel like she's going to have a couple of variables going in her favor that might stuff out Cynthia Calvillo's, path to getting that win. Namely, Cynthia Calvillo is, at 115 pounds, she's a decent wrestler. She's a scrappy fighter. She's got decent striking, but she never really was a 115. Like, she botched a few weight cuts. Coming into the Poliano Botello fight, remember, she looks like death on the scale. She weighs 118 pounds, wins the fight in the first round. The Courtney Casey fight, she makes weight, gasses out in the third round. The Marina Rodriguez fight, she comes in at 120 for a 115 fight. It's like, what are you doing? And now she's more or less forced up to 125. She's forced up to 125 against Jessica Eye, who's fought comfortably at 135 pounds. Now, Jessica Eye had a bad problem back when she was fighting at 135, is that big, strong wrestlers have their way against her. Now, it's unfair to kind of say that about her because those big, strong wrestlers include Miesha Tate, Juliana Pena, and Sarah McMahon. Like, that tug of murder's row of grapplers at 135. Miesha Tate, former champion, obviously known for her wrestling and her grappling. Juliana Pena, the strongest fighter you've seen, was an absolute Mack truck, obviously a good grappler, and then Sarah McMahon, the former Olympic silver medalist. So is it fair to say that her blueprint to beating her is just grounding her and beating the crowd? Let's not even talk about the Shevchenko fight. Kick her straight in the face. Very few people have that capability. So we just got to base it on, does Cynthia Calvillo rank amongst those grapplers we just talked about? No, probably not. She's not nearly as big or strong as any of them. She doesn't have the credentials as any of them. So to think that she's going to lean on this game plan and just going in there and taking down Jessica Eye, I'm not so sure. And as far as the striking match goes, I think Eye's got her. She's a much better technical boxer. And Cynthia Calvillo's kind of been like an MMA vagabond at this point, right? I forget where she started out, but she obviously notoriously ended up at Team Alpha Male. She's at Alpha Male for a couple fights. And then Justin Buchholz is her head coach. Buchholz splits with Alpha Male. He goes back to Alaska. He also makes some super disparaging comments about women's MMA, being like, women shouldn't fight. They don't have any talent. Like, this is a joke. Super weird. So she splits from Alpha Male and then did a 9-week camp at Tiger Muay Thai leading into the Marina Rodriguez fight. Problem is that her striking didn't look any better. She was getting cleanly outstruck in that fight just before leading on her wrestling. I thought she lost the first round. I thought she lost the second round. The third round, she completely dominates, but doesn't dominate pillar to post. Dominates the majority of the round. 45 seconds left, Rodriguez gets up, and bang, bang, Calvillo's tired again. And that's where I'm getting back to these variables that Jessica Eye has. Jessica Eye's got to keep this fight standing to win it, right? The one variable there is that she has decent takedown defense, but also she's a naturally bigger fighter, so that should help her. Also, she's got a much better gas tank than Calvillo. Calvillo basically tires out in all of her fights. And even go back to the Courtney Casey fight, right? She wins the first 2 rounds. She flat out gasses out in the third round, gets outstruck by Courtney Casey. The Marina Rodriguez fight, she just gets outstruck for the majority of it, has that big third round. That saves her and gets her a draw. The Carlos Esparza fight, gassed out the whole time. Joanne Calderwood fight, gassed out pretty early. She wins a lot of those fights. Maybe you give her a pass on it, but this is a bad situation to be in a 5-round main event at a new weight class for the first time. And by the way, I mentioned that she went to Tiger Muay Thai for the last fight. She's at AKA now for this fight. it's just she's moved around a lot. There's a lot of question marks. If it's even money, like I'd say pass is probably the smart play. Taking the fight to go to decision. Whoever you take, I or Calvillo, take them to win by decision. That's how you'll get some increased value on it. But this screams 5 rounds, kickboxing type fight. Could go either way. Could be a split. I'm thinking I's going to get the decision. You know, she's from Vegas now. Like, she's originally from Ohio, obviously, but she's been in Vegas the last couple of years. They're giving her a decent little spot here. She looked good at her last time out against Viviane Arroyo after getting knocked out by Shevchenko. So cleared the cobwebs. 33. That's maybe half concerning. It's a year older than Calvillo, who's shockingly 32, right? We think about Calvillo as a prospect on her way up. She's pretty much as polished as she's going to get. And the very last thing I want to say is that on the broadcast last week, when they talked about, next week's main event, Cynthia Calvillo, DC commented really quick, and he's like, oh, yeah, she's at our gym now. And, she's spending a lot of time learning how to wrestle. Isn't that a weird statement to make, considering she spent 3, 4, 5 years of her life at Alpha Male?
Learning how to wrestle?
More or less exclusively. Yeah, learning how to wrestle. So when he says, she's in her gym learning how to wrestle,
so.
What's she going to realistically learn at 32 at a new gym in a new setting? And is he just divulging her game plan where it's like, yeah, she knows she can't strike with eye. She's just going to try to wrestle. So, by the way, the reason it's probably a pass and not just a straight-up eye pick is because the way to beat eye, just get those takedowns. I just don't know that I trust 125 Calvillo to do it consistently over 5. That's my play.
Well, it's not mine. It's a pick 'em. It's a pick 'em price. I mean, there's so many different odds. I sent you a screenshot to your Twitter DMs. So we should follow along with those ones so we're on the same page. Here, Cody, we're going to test out the amount of delay here. All right? So when I stop talking, I want you to go, woof, woof. All right? Here we go, evil. Here we go.
Bark, bark.
That was a little bit late. Jessica Eye, man. I love this spot for her, and I've never actually loved a spot for Jessica Eye before. She's a natural 125er. I mean, she did miss weight, obviously, last time out, so she even struggles to make this weight. She is bigger, stronger, longer reach. I think her wrestling may even be better. Like, Sarah McMahon was able to take her down 205. Now, I realize that was an absolute stare fest. But just the fact that you can go in there against an Olympian, like, I know that Cynthia Calvillo, when she gets you to the ground, she has pretty good back takes. She can do some nice grappling, and submission skills are probably pretty good. Probably a little bit better than Eyes. I don't know if she can submit her, but that would be the path, but I just don't know how she gets the fight there. I don't like her striking whatsoever. I think this is a really good spot for Eye. I think people don't like betting Eye. And yeah, what was the last thing I was going to say? Oh, yes, the gym. Here's the thing about it. All right, so when she was at Team Alpha Male.
Oh, yeah.
She had Paige Van Zandt there, and there was a bunch of other fighters. I know AKA is a great gym, but we're in quarantine time. So if she fought back in January, then we've had the last 3 months have been an absolute nightmare. I'm sure the gym is pretty sparse. But here's the real question I have, Cody. What elite females fight out of AKA?
Yeah,
I see pictures of
team, but I know what you're saying.
I see pictures of her with Cain Velasquez hitting mitts and stuff. It's just I've seen on her Instagram. I looked through to see what she was up to. It's just well, that's all well and good. I'm sure he's very it's inspirational and he's helping you learn things about the game. But you're not getting one-on-one, combat with him. I don't know who her training partners would be there. Obviously, it's all kind of up in the air. Whereas Jessica Eye comes into this having stability, and she's been fighting out of Vegas for a little bit now, and yeah, she obviously botched the weight cut last time out, but that just kind of shows how big she is. As somebody who already played a bet on Jessica Evil Eye at -110, I'm not gonna lie, Cody, I kind of hope that she comes in a little bit heavy too on this one, because if Cynthia Calvillo's only way to win this fight is to wrestle against the much bigger, stronger, she's gonna gas out. So I actually really like the spot for Eye. I already put. I have a 1-to-1. No, it's a two units to win 2.2 units to win 2 units. Sorry, I don't usually do that type of lingo.
Yeah.
So I'm in on her. I think this is actually a good spot. I think Cynthia Calvillo is overhyped, and she hasn't fought anybody, especially at this weight class, she won't be ready for this. Let's move on. Sorry, I'm a little bit scatterbrained here today. We had a little bit of technical difficulties earlier on. All right, we move on down to the card to another fight that we already broke down a few weeks ago. If you want to look up like a really, really cringy exchange after Carl Roberson was forced to pull out of his fight with Marvin Vettori. I mean, it kind of showed that Marvin Vettori, the rumors about him may be true. Guy seems like a bit of an asshole. But he's a pretty talented asshole. He's minus 230, taking on Carl Roberson. He could be out for plus 190. We were on here before. It was around like minus 180, plus 160 before when this fight was booked. Now you add those extra points. We were picking Vettori, and I was a little bit hesitant to like jump on and pay the juice for that. Now that it's up at 230, it's an easy pass, but I do think Vettori wins. He's the more well-rounded skill set all the way around for him. Obviously, Carl Roberson, kickboxer, can probably cause some problems for Vettori on the feet, but, Vettori went the distance with Adesanya. Guy's super, super solid. Good training camp, or good gym that he comes out of. Good, well-rounded skill set. I like him, but 230 is a little bit too much for me to pay. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, the first time around, he was basically like the play of the week at 165, and I know there was a lot of money starting to come into him, on him prior to the fight getting canceled, and then that hotel exchange, which just kind of reinforced the fact that, like, this kid wants to fight bad, man. Marvin Vettori's had a lot of fights canceled on him. He's in the prime of his life, considering, he's 26 years old. He's chomping on the bit and wants to fight bad. Now, you and I talked about how serious this kid takes his strength and conditioning. And I mean, you see him. He takes his strength and conditioning seriously, which is why when the fight got canceled and he ran into Carl Roberson in the hotel, see, all that strength and conditioning was just fucking pulsing through his veins, right?
That's
like
fair.
If USADA would have came up and been like, pissing this cup, the strength and conditioning probably would have burned clean through the fucking plastic. He was fired up. So I do kind of worry that, like, you rebook it exactly 4 weeks later. He was clearly peaking. His body was physically peaking for the fight. And you talk to athletes getting ready, they'll say that. You train your training camp, you get ready, you peak, you go out, you compete. A lot of fighters will peak, then they'll come down, then they'll take this lag of a couple of weeks off, try to jumped back into it, not quite get going. Not that it really matters, but remember that Antonina Shevchenko versus Caitlin Chukagian fight? Antonina's walking to the ring, and then Anik, whoever the fuck it is, one of the announcers is like, or one of the commentators is like, oh, her coaches said she's peaked 3 times during this camp because the coronavirus got pushed back, and she should be in great shape. And she, I mean, it wasn't a great matchup for her stylistically, obviously, with the wrestling, but she just looks super flat. And I think that goes back to, you're getting ready for a fight, you're getting ready for this date, the guy weighs in, Vettori's ready to go, the fight gets canceled, massive adrenaline dump, you confront this guy in the hotel, now 4 weeks later, you got to get back in there, he's at a bigger price tag. Obviously, I don't like him as much as I liked him then, but I still do like him. I mean, the only really issues that he had is he's a generalist in that he doesn't have great wrestling, doesn't have great striking, doesn't have great jiu-jitsu. He does everything kind of well, but he was kind of lacking on fight experience and cardio. It seems like he's come a long way in that he shored that up, and I think that his advantages here is that he's super cast iron as far as striking goes. Like, he can take a good punch. Carl Roberson, I mean, he kind of relies on hurting guys early, rocking guys early, but then eventually when he gets taken down, he just looks like a fish out of water. Vettori should have enough standing that he's going to be able to take his best punches, move forward. It's whether he's going to get a hold of him, peel him down, and, just go through the motions for at least 2 of the 3 rounds, get the decision. I think he does. 230 is not a great price tag. We liked it at 165. I bet it at 185. I bet at 200. But just keep in mind, with the show last week, and yeah, we were totally off on Hooper. It didn't fucking matter what you bet him at. It was a bad bet. But when we talked about the show, we were like, yeah, geez, the kid opened at 110. He's the underdog. He's at 145 now that we're doing the show. That's probably as much as you want to pay for him. Buyers beware. Yeah, I did tweet out I'm adding him to parlays and all that, but keep in mind, the fucking guy went off like 220. Like, there's no way in hell you bet him at 220. 45 was pushing it. Vettori is similar. At 220, yeah, I'm actually gonna add him on some parlays, and I probably will tweet that out. However, keep in mind, if this guy line keeps going up for whatever reason and it gets to 240, 260, it's not a great price tag to begin with. I'm not betting him straight up. I want to parlay him because I feel like he's one of the somewhat safer picks on the card, and he doesn't have great value, so I have to parlay him up. But yeah, there's no denying that. I wanted him 4 weeks ago when he was a much better price tag and felt like great matchup. It turns out Roberson's a little bit sick. Now Roberson's probably over whatever the hell he had. I don't know. It's just a little riskier. But yeah, no, Vettori is the play. I got to stick with him. I think he's going to get the fight to the ground. When he does get the fight to the ground, it'll be enough to win those decisions or win the rounds and get the decision.
And the other thing about it is that Vettori on like that previous card, 'cause that was supposed to be on 249, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So on that card, it was kind of one of the ones that really flew underneath the radar. On this one, especially when you like at the end when we talk about DraftKings, it's like when you really start to look through the slate, you're like, man, it's pretty devoid of options around these parts. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like now that it's on a card not surrounded by the same amount of talent, it kind of sticks out as a spot that you want to get on. But yeah, 230 is a little bit too much. Let's move on down. We have Merab Dvalishvili taking on Ray Borg. Dvalishvili is minus 420, and Ray Borg can be had for plus 335. Here's the exact reason why we thought when Ray Borg decided to move up to 135 because he couldn't continue to make 125. Merab Dvalishvili is the exact reason why Ray Borg's skill set doesn't transfer up. Ray Borg may be faster, may have the better technique in this fight, but the size is going to matter, and Merab doesn't get tired. So I'm not really... the price is obviously super, super wide. Ray Borg is a very talented guy, but I feel like size is really going to matter here. It's hard not to pick Dvalishvili. The price is lopsided, but I think it's going to be a really rough night for Borg. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, you have to imagine. So the UFC's done a great job of giving Borg a lot of favorable matchups in the past, but I mean, this one doesn't look like that favorable matchup that he's been accustomed to. His best strength was at 125. He'd usually either miss weight, or if he did make weight, he's just much larger than that 125. He's a good wrestler. He's relentless. He keeps on you. He matches up extremely good with a lot of guys in the division. That was his success. Obviously, fighting at 135 is not for him. And the fact that he beats Gabriel Silva at 135 and then immediately is like, I got to get back down to 125 his next time out, is just an indicator, though. He can win at 135 against low-level competition, but even he knows in victory, this is not the weight class for me. I'm not having my way in the wrestling. I'm not having my way in the grappling. I don't have this sizable strength advantage. Ricky Simon is a short little tank engine, has good wrestling. You know, it doesn't have a great chin, but Borg's not a great striker. And that was the problem there. His path to victory was probably sting the guy standing, and he just wasn't able to do it. When he wasn't able to do it, you saw Ricky Simon was a better wrestler than him. He was stronger than him. He was more aggressive than him. It's a split decision, but like, I don't know who the hell scored that thing for Borg. Ricky Simon wins that fight pretty clear in my eyes. So he's going to have problems. Now, instead of dropping down to 125, which I think is off the table, he's missed weight too many times. He's got to take a fight at 135. It's just crazy that they give him Ricky Simon 2.0. You know, like he's stronger than Ricky Simon. He's a better wrestler than Ricky Simon. He's more relentless than Ricky Simon. He's got a better chin than Ricky Simon. And yes, ironically enough, Ricky Simon beat Merab Dvalishvili with a bullshit guillotine TK. That shit still stings me because I thought Dvalishvili should have won. Regardless, all it is just like an upgrade from one to another. So that's no good. Now we got to look at price 100% here. Minus 420 for Merab Dvalishvili. That's a big price tag. Obviously, you're going to have to parlay him now and put him on different tickets and this and that. I think he's safe. However, you got to look at track record here. Track record suggests Merab Dvalishvili is just not a finisher. He's relentless. He puts it on you. He keeps pounding away. But the guy's not finishing Terrion Ware. He's not finishing Brad Katona. He's not finishing Casey Kinney. He's not finishing a whole lot of guys. I would say it's pretty comfortable that this fight's going to the decision. Because Borg, meanwhile, I mean, he's pretty durable as well. He's losing these fights. He's getting out grappled guys that are bigger than him, but he's not getting finished. In fact, I mean, he very rarely gets finished outside of a fifth-round armbar against Demetrius Johnson once upon a time. Like, the guy's super durable. So all logic dictates that this fight is going to be a grappling exchange. It's going to be more of a wrestling match. It's going to go 3 rounds. Dvalishvili's bigger, stronger, and has great cardio. He'll push the pace. He'll get the decision. But surely this guy's going to win a decision. And looking at the prop on that, Dvalishvili by decision is minus 185. Wow, that is infinitely better than 420, which I'm not behind. The number's fine. Don't get me wrong. I love that side of it. But it's a big price tag. I think he's going to win a decision. I got to chase those points. And so parlaying a decision prop is not the smartest thing in the world. However, it does feel like this one's pretty safe to go to decision. If you got Dvalishvili, which I do, odds makers are on his side. Money's still continuing to come in on him. We're backing him here. I'm thinking decision's the way to go to try to save that little extra bit.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Let's move on. We got Andre Touchy-Fili taking on Charles Jourdain. Andre Touchy-Fili is minus 225. Jourdain plus 185. Who do you got here?
I got Andre Fili all day. I think Andre Fili is just a much more rounded fighter at this point. He's got a much better diverse skill set. And like, there's no doubt about it that Charles Jourdain is exciting and he goes for it and he throws bombs and he's dynamic, and he's a little awkward, and he's hard to read his timing. But like all of that's going to be out the window against a much more technical fighter. I mean, I didn't think jumping up from TKO to the UFC that he was going to be ready for this anyhow. And him taking a relatively short notice fight up a weight class against Des Green, I mean, it just screamed, here's a guy that was a champ in TKO, one of their fan favorites, and he's taking a short notice fight in Des Green's own backyard, by the way. Like, I didn't understand that matchup. He loses the fight, didn't give a great account of himself. In TKO, he could not wrestle. Turns out against Des Green, who's a competent wrestler, can't really wrestle all that well. The Doo Ho Choi fight, I'm all on Doo Ho Choi here as well. I think Doo Ho Choi is a better striker. He packs a harder punch. He is also a prospect. I would say more refined, but again, the guy's very green and kind of loopy himself. He wins the first round all day. The second round, all of a sudden, he starts to tire. All of a sudden, and this just goes back to Doo Ho Choi maybe being a busted prospect, he's got issues, man. The later the fights go, I mean, he looked great against Cub Swanson early, faded hard. He looked great, won the first round against Jeremy Stevens, fades hard and gets knocked down in the second. Looked great against Charles Jourdain, fades hard and gets caught in the second. So maybe that was just like an over-evaluation of Doo Ho Choi. So you can't discredit Jourdain. He landed a beautiful shot. He kept on this guy. His cardio, even by the way, like I say, he can't wrestle. He's a little bit green. He's a little bit loopy. His cardio checks out. Guys always pushing the pace at you. Guys always going for it. But against Andre Fili, he's just giving up multiple paths to victory. Andre Fili can take this guy. I would think Andre Fili can take him down at will. When he does get him down, Jourdain loves to attack off his back, but like Fili's a good grappler. Guys aren't just catching Fili. For the most part, yeah. I mean, once upon a time against Pepe, but you know what I mean? Like, he's a guy that spent a lot of time in grappling positions. He seems to just be getting better every time out. He's taken on, Dennis Bermudez. Dennis Bermudez is a black belt, and he's also a former D1 collegiate wrestler. Fili's taking this guy down, out grappling, and gets that decision. That means something. The Miles Jury fight. Miles Jury is a black belt, not a great wrestler. Same thing. It's like he can outstrike these strikers. He can out-wrestle some wrestlers. Not bad. Knocks out Shane Moraes. Great. The Sodi Youssef his last time out. That's why we're getting a decent enough price tag. Yeah, he lost to a super prospect. But again, he gave an okay account of himself. I think he just matches up tremendously well against Charles Jourdain. I'd love to say, again, decision, just because Fili he got a lot of decisions on his record. Charles Jourdain, meanwhile, very durable. I think the path for Fili is take this guy down. Just take this guy down and comfortably defeat him. As far as the fight stays standing, Charles Jourdain just rushes forward, and he leaves so many openings. Fili has a nasty jab. And that jab should land all day. But even if Charles Jourdain eventually just gets tired of eating the jab and decides, I got to crash the pocket, close that distance, that's where the takedown should open up for him. So it should work out both ways for Fili. He's got some teammates on the card, should be in good shape. Hearing good things out of them, I would have to say that he gets the decision. And listen, I'm not telling you anything you probably don't know. Looking at the line, 225 Andre Fili seems about right. But again, you're going back to Jourdain. He's 1-1 in the UFC. He's 24 years old. You go back to Andre Fili. He's been a prospect for a while, but he's 29 now. He's much more mature. He's fought Yair Rodriguez. He's fought in Calvin Kattar. He's fought in Michael Johnson. Like, this guy has fought a lot of top guys, always brings it, always gets a little bit better. It goes back to Caceres versus Hooper, right? We should have seen it. We talked about it, but we didn't fucking play. We didn't go with that gut feeling where it's like, dude, one guy's 30 years old and a 21-fight UFC veteran taking on a 20-year-old kid with one fight. Jourdain's still got a long ways to go. At 28, 29, he might be a decent prospect. But still at 24, he's very green. He has 2 fights in the UFC. Fili was that guy once upon a time, but he's made a lot of improvements. He's a more polished fighter. I think he gets the job done. Andre Fili by decision.
I don't really have anything to add to that. I agree with just about everything you said. So let's move on. We've got Jordan Espinosa taking on Mark De La Rosa. Espinosa minus 160 favorite. Mark De La Rosa could be had for plus 140. Jordan, I mean, if it wasn't COVID times, I would say this is probably kind of like a pink slip fight. You got Jordan Espinosa coming off of 2 straight losses, both by first round submission. Mark De La Rosa fancies himself a grappler. He's coming off of 3 straight losses, most of them by decision. I think what this comes down to is I think Jordan Espinosa's speed is going to be the big difference in this fight. It's not one that I really want to bet because, this is a guy who's got, if Mark De La Rosa is able to get him to the ground, I wouldn't be shocked to see him be able to find a submission early on in this. But I think the speed of Jordan Espinosa, and I'm not all that impressed by the wrestling of Mark De La Rosa. I feel like Jordan Espinosa can kind of dance around on the outside, not get in too much trouble, and win a decision victory here. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to agree. But however, Jordan Espinosa has apple pie shitter written all over him. Sure. And this is just the way he is. He's very fast. He is very athletic. He's a guy that spent a lot of time at Latrell MMA, but mostly Jackson's MMA now. And I mean, damn, if you just want to compare pure athleticism and speed through the first 5 minutes, this guy compares with the best of them. But that's exactly it. After the first 5 minutes, he seems to just kind of fall apart. Grappling's always been an issue for him. Prior to coming to the UFC, he's obviously got a couple notable submission losses on his record. And then in the UFC, his last two, maybe not a great indication. Like, Perez is the man now. Like, Perez is just on an absolute rampage, tearing through guys. That one doesn't feel so bad. The Matt Schnell fight, he had his way. Took Schnell down, ran to his guard, got triangle choke. Clearly, he's still dealing with these grappling problems. And then where I say he might be an apple pie shitter is that De La Rosa really only has one path of victory, which is he is a BJJ black belt, and he should probably try to catch him with something along the way. Now, Espinosa is going to be way faster than him. He beats him with a punch in the first round. He can take him down if he wants in the first round. If not, he's just too elusive. His kick games are way rangier. He chews up De La Rosa in the first round of the feet. On second round, if De La Rosa's, got the grit to him, and this is a pink slip fight, I agree with you. You got De La Rosa's 2-4 in the UFC. His wins over the no-talent cousin of the Pettis' Elias Garcia, and a split decision over Joby Sanchez. So regardless that Rolian Pava's kick-ass, and Alex Perez's kick-ass, Kekar France, pretty good. Tim Elliott, fucking very solid. Even though he is losing to top guys, you can't discredit him for that. He's operating at a pretty low level. And so just going back to the apple pie shit thing, it's like I really see Jourdain Espinosa outclassing this guy for the first 2 rounds. It's if the fight goes later and Espinosa being that quick and athletic and having that much movement, you do exert a lot of energy. If he exerts a lot of energy and he gets tired and he has subpar submission defense and he's taking on a black belt, it could be a problem. But when I say black belt, it's kind of loose. Like, De La Rosa is 25 years old. He's not a world champion black belt. He's just a guy that's probably been doing jiu-jitsu for a long time out of Texas, has a black belt. But Matt Schnell doesn't have one, and he just threw up the triangle like nuts. Like, Espinosa didn't even know what a triangle was. Never seen that fucking chick come. It gets classic apple pie shit. Like, the price isn't good enough for me to take that go on it, 160 Espinosa, because he has lost his last 2 fights. He's been submitted. It's a stylistical fight that matches up for him, but at least his opponent does have that path of victory to defeat him. I do have him. I think he does get the job done. However, I'd be very weary to go big on him or add him to parlays just because there is a history of just no confidence. You can't confidently back this guy and be like, all right, we're getting the job done. We're rolling this one through. I feel good about Fili. I have confidence in Fili. I feel good about Dvalishvili. I have confidence. Vettori, the price has kind of got me off. I fight. You're more confident in that one than me. But coming back to this one, like, it's probably past situation because of 160. However, Espinosa is the pick.
Same page there. We got Merab Agapova taking on Hannah Cifers. Actually, the DraftKings pricing for these people came out in between. The board's up right now. Yeah, whatever. They're 8,700 and 7,500. So, but yeah, they're minus 225, and Hannah Cifers can be had for plus 175. You got any hot takes here? Obviously, Cifers coming on short notice after getting, she took no damage. She was winning the fight right up until the point that she tapped against Mackenzie Dern. Hannah Cifers, Maria Agapova. Agapova doesn't, like, from watching her on the Contender Series, the wrestling looks pretty subpar. Tracy Cortez dominated most of that fight. There was a few scrambles and whatnot, but can Hannah Cifers go after that game? Because I think she may be a little bit outclassed on the feet. Hannah Cifers is pretty tough. She's not dealing with the submission issues that she did in her last fight, but it's a quick turnaround. She's not exactly all that big, and she's moving up to, or no, they were at it's strawweight, yeah. So she's moving up to flyweight, so obviously cutting a little bit less for this. She's probably going to be undersized. I don't know. I'm talking kind of around in the circle. I have no interest in betting this fight. What about you?
Yeah, it's just not a great price tag. I want to initially talk myself into Cifers a little bit and maybe try to take a poke at that underdog money. Maria Agapova at 245 is just another risky. Listen, we're getting big price tags on just unproven prospects. And Agapova fits that bill to a T. She's 23 years old. This is her UFC debut. She didn't look very good on the Contender Series. Well, one would have to think betting her 240 against, I'm not going to say a proven commodity in Cifers. Like, Cifers has looked very spotty at times, but like, at least there is something there, right? Now, Cifers will have her best success in the clinch, right? Cifers is very, very strong in the clinch. They always talk about that whole farm girl strength, and it's the girl that spends her time hanging, very strong. And even you look at her last fight, Mackenzie Dern, who's not the strongest, but is a big gal. Like, she's not having nothing to do on the feet. Cifers just bucks her off like nothing. Agapova, meanwhile, not even just the Tracy Cortez fight. Cortez just takes her down when she wants. It's pretty much all of her fights. You can control this girl pretty easy off against the cage. And I think that's largely just because she's tall for the weight class. 5'6". She's long, she's rangy, she's kind of awkward with her movements. If Cifers stays at range, I think she's got a serious problem. Hannah Cifers stands at 5'1" and has a 62-inch reach, whereas Agapova stands at 5'6" with a 70-inch reach. She's going to have her outgunned 8 inches on the reach department, as well as an additional 5 inches in the height department. Cifers she comes up short on a lot of her punches. That's going to be the exact same case here. Agapova, meanwhile, throws a ton of kicks, just keeps on you, has a great gas tank, keeps going. When Tracy Cortez is getting her down, she's getting back up to her feet. She's getting back to her feet. She's overexerting herself, spending a little too much energy. But it's a work in progress. It's that you just see this girl's way too green. It's the 2 fights since then for Invicta FC, whereas the first one, Alexa Connors, stings this girl with a nasty kick to the body, keeps on her, good knees, good elbows, good, just pouring it on, and then eventually gets a standing rear naked choke, throws her to the ground, gets a submission. Nice. Next fight against Marila Santos, same thing, striking on point, gets this girl to the ground, gets on top of her, pounds her away. The turnaround for me between the fight with Tracy Cortez and those other 2 teams, or those other 2 fights, ATT, baby. When she came in against Tracy Cortez, she was an unproven fighter from Kazakhstan. She had spent basically her entire career fighting in Kazakhstan, and you did see she was still green. She was talented. She had some tricks up her sleeve, but it wasn't a full-based MMA game plan. Her last 2 fights, they have both been first-round knockouts. I would have liked to see them get dragged out a little bit later, see how she translates into those later rounds. However, both of those fights, she's been full-time at Coconut Creek, Florida. That's the exact reason why this card was supposed to be in Kazakhstan. They put her on the card. Hey, this is great. We're going to showcase her. But when the card fell apart, everybody on the card fell off except for her because she's Florida-based, right? She's already in Florida. So I would say Cifers coming up to make this fight possible. She's giving up a ton of size. And whereas, yes, she does have the advantage in the clinch game, she has no wrestling to fall back on. And Hannah Cifers is too much of a warrior to just fight a game plan of, I'm going to hold this bitch against the cage for 10, 15 minutes. Like, she's too much of a warrior in that I will stand here and throw and get hit and give you an exciting fight, then I will do whatever means necessary to grind out a crappy win. And that'll be her downfall. Is that going back to her wrestling, she has had 1 takedown in her 5 UFC fights. It was over Jody Escobar. Jody Escobar also took her down 3 times. Angela Hill took her down. Her wrestling is just not good enough, I think, to use that game plan of just smothering Agapova for 15. It'll probably mostly play outstanding. Agapova will just tee off on this girl at range. She'll go for it. She'll get the decision. If it goes to decision, maybe she stops Cifers if Cifers just takes too much damage along the way. But Agapova, again, it's not a great price tag. You got an unproven fighter here. However, from what we have seen, and it's not going to be a full venue of screaming fans, so maybe the adrenaline dump's not quite an issue, and she can relax, and she can do her thing and get the victory. But it's not a great price tag. Agapova is up.
We have Kevin Aguilar taking on Charles Rosa at 155 pounds. Aguilar minus 185. Rosa plus 160. You have anything here?
Yeah, well, so at this point, it's like I need to get me a dog in. And it's not that I love Rosa straight up as that underdog, but like the pricing is definitely off on here. I wouldn't want Kevin Aguilar as a minus 185 favorite over pretty much everybody. Yeah. And I know this guy is talented, and he has fought some top guys, and maybe I'm giving him an unfair shake. I mean, Danny Gaines, Zubair Tuhugov, his last 2 fights, that's tough. Got to win over our boy Enrique Barzola once upon a time. But it's just the fact that he's too big of a price tag in that where does he comfortably win this fight, right? Does he take Charles Rosa down? I don't think so. Does he out-grapple Charles Rosa? Geez, it'd be pretty competitive as far as grappling goes. So now he needs to stand up and outstrike Charles Rosa, which makes a lot of sense. He's the better striker, and Charles Rosa hasn't given it. But here's Rosa's problem. He doesn't have a whole lot of power, so he relies on volume. And Aguilar, meanwhile, Aguilar has power. He doesn't really rely on volume. The best output he's had is over Rick Glenn, who's just defensively extremely irresponsible. After that, it's like a little bit of grappling in the fights, a little bit of striking in the fights, but he's not getting off. His chin might be a little bit suspect, but Rosa is not knocking out anybody, so you shouldn't have a problem with that. I just look at Rosa in that fights like the Shane Burgos fight or the Kyle Bochniak fight, right? Those guys are good, adequate strikers, stand in the pocket with them, and they were striking battles. He has 92 strikes landed on Bochniak. He has 86 on Burgos before getting knocked out in the 3rd round. So whatever it was, but he was up 2 rounds probably going into that 3rd round. He's putting on the volume, right? He's putting on that volume. Aguilar, I just don't see it out of him. So listen, can Kevin Aguilar win this fight? Absolutely. But the guys match up fairly close to each other. Yes, Rosa's coming up off a thrashing not even all that long ago against Bryce Mitchell, and he's coming up a weight class. But let's not be mistaken here. Kevin Aguilar is coming off a knockout loss and is also moving up a weight class. So I don't know. It's hard to get a great read on it, but I'm thinking that this fight could be close. It could be competitive. And then you look at a line of 185 Aguilar versus 165 Rosa or 160 Rosa. I'm just not fully agreeing with it. So I'd have to say there's just a little too much love on the Angel of Death, Kevin Aguilar. And I would say that this is probably a straight up pass, or in my case, a dogger pass. Let's not forget that prior to Aguilar coming to the UFC, he got his contract on Contender Series with a split decision win over Joey Gomez, right? A UFC veteran himself. I think that this guy's entertaining. You watch his LFA career, he's literally action personified. But in doing so, you're going to give up some edges to a guy that's not looking for some action fight. He's looking to pick his spots, fight the good game plan. And that's Rosa's thing. Remember, we're talking about Cifers is not willing to do what she needs to do to win a board decision. At this point, Rosa is, because Rosa's been fighting in the UFC for like 8 years. He's got like 8 fights. Like, he's 33. He needs to get on with it in life. He needs a win. And so I think that he'll fight that smart game plan and do enough to edge it. This is probably a pass again, but because I'm thinking, probably a pass, and the line's showing nearly a 2-1 favor of Aguilar with money rolling in still. Mm-hmm. I gotta think at least Rosa on a small little play.
Yeah, that's fair. What do you think? Do you think it's 50-50? Like, how would you, like, if they fought 10 times, how do you think this shakes out?
Yeah, if they fight 10 times, yeah, I'd want to say maybe 6-4 Aguilar, but realistically, it's a fist fight. Who knows? They have similar skill sets.
Exactly. So 60% implied probability would be minus 150. They're just charging you a little bit too much for it, right? They're charging you at like 65% right now. And yeah, you're paying an extra 30 points of juice. It's just not, the juice isn't worth the squeeze as they would like to say. I think gun to my head, I'm picking Aguilar. I just think that as long as Rosa can't, if Rosa can't turn this into like any sort of scrambles and can't take him down, Aguilar I do like a lot more on the feet, and all fights start on the feet. But yeah, I'm not betting it at that price either. We got Julia Avila taking on Gina Mazany. Avila is a minus 525 favorite. Mazany plus 415. So here's the other bet that I am on. I made it earlier in the week. I DM'd it to Cody Saftic. He saw it. The line has like spiraled out of control since I did it, but I parlayed Julia Avila here against Gina Mazany with Curtis Blades on next week's card. I had it like minus 400 and minus 225. Those lines have moved quite a bit. Still don't mind the play. I just think you look through Gina Mazany's career, 1-3 in the UFC, and it's been pretty rough, especially like when she gives up any sort of grappling advantage. Now, in fairness, she was like on short notice coming in against Sarah McMahon and just got absolutely bullied. What else here? Oh, so she's coming off of a knockout in her last fight, Gina Mazany. And it's over like a 44-year-old. Look her up. Val Barney. Look up. Yeah,
Valerie Barney.
Yeah, look at everybody listening right now. If you want to pause, go look at it. Like you can see what was the situation here. I'll level with all of you guys. I didn't love what I saw from Julia Avila in her UFC debut against Penny Kianzad. There were a few things I didn't like. She kind of charges in on her strikes. She just kind of runs in, and it's dangerous. But, at 135-pound women's, the one risk I do see is Mazany's got a decent straight left. Like, maybe she could clip Avila, but at the price that I got in at, I'm willing to take that risk. So that's not going to happen. And the final thing I wanted to say, and this is going to sound really harsh, but we're in the gambling business. Like, you got to think about these things. So Gina Mazany, when she fought the Val Barney or whatever, that was at 155 pounds. I believe Gina Mazany had like a kid pretty recently. And so I guess she was coming back. So I was at 155. This is at 135. That was back in like January or something like that. So it was quite a bit of time. But she's dating Tim Elliott right now, right?
Yeah.
And this is where I said, I'm going to sound like a bit of a dick, but what happened with Tim Elliott when he came with his last fight? He came out way too hot and gassed in the second round. I mean, they're spending all that time together. I don't know if Gina Mazany is going to look like the best form of herself coming into this. She's just a local fighter in Vegas. They needed a fighter on short notice. Sign her back up after she had just been cut and knocked out like a 44-year-old soccer mom. Like, I think Avila, if she gets this to the ground, her ground transitions look pretty solid. On the feet, I think she's got a pretty big advantage. She's really nasty in the clinch. I really like her everywhere this fight goes. The price is super high, but I still think you can parlay it. Like I feel like fading Gina Mazany is a long-term winning solution. What about you?
No, I hear you, yeah, dude. I mean, if you're in Las Vegas, you need a screwed opponent. Who you gonna call? Gina Mazany. She ain't scared of no loss. Like, yeah, she's in Vegas, local. They need somebody. Gina Mazany is getting the call. If you want to talk in depth about Valerie Barney, by the way, Valerie Barney, yeah, 44 years old. Valerie Barney, that was her first fight in 9 years. She hadn't competed since 2011, which she had lost to a debuting fighter, by the way. And then 9 years later, the card's King of the Cage Golden fights. More like Golden Girls, man. What was she even thinking getting in there and doing it? Crazy. But yeah, Gina gets the win there. And again, the UFC needs to fill this. I think Avila has a little bit of, I want to say a little bit of hype. She didn't look spectacular in a UFC debut, but here's somebody that looks pretty good in
a decent fighter too.
Yeah, Pandy Kianzad, Ultimate Fighter finalist, someone who is a little bit more proven, has more experience certainly, fought in Europe. Yeah, it's not the worst fight. It's also your debut. She looked good when she was in Invicta FC. I mean, her only loss is due to a hand injury. She broke her hand early on. It's the thing is that like she's such a she's had such a weird career in that, like, we were just talking about Valerie Barney. Like, Valerie Barney, weird career. How do you fight Gina Mazany after a 9-year layoff at age 44? But, like, she had fought Holly Holm in a kickboxing match in, like, 2002. She had a crazy story. And look like Julia Avila. In her MMA debut, she beats Marion Renault, right? That's notable because Renault goes on to fight in the UFC, fights some decent opposition, gives a great account of herself. Not a world champion, not a world champion contender. But, again, that's a solid victory, especially as your MMA debut. But she wins that fight in 2012. That's 8 years ago she beats Renault. And then she vanishes for 4 years, comes back, wins one, comes back in 2017, beats Nico Montano. Notable because Nico Montano goes on to win the Ultimate Fighter and then becomes the first ever UFC flyweight champ.
Yeah,
like that should have never happened. Again, by the way, Nico Montano, not world champion caliber, not world champion contender caliber. But those are some notable wins right off the hop. Her loss to Marcia Allen. Marcia Allen's also a banger, very fucking tough. And, she broke her hand, so it wasn't as if she had lost in any specific reason. And then, the other fight, she looks good. But at this point, just like so much time has passed. She's now 32 years old. She can wrestle. She can strike. She actually ran track D1 at Notre Dame. Like, this chick is a hell of an athlete. She's got it all. She should win against Gina Mazany with her eyes closed. But yeah, now price tag's definitely starting to get bigger. But honestly, here, Gina Mazany's only path to victory. By the way, after she got cut from the UFC, she went right into pro wrestling. Dave Mazany, her brother, Dirty Dave Mazany, he did some pro wrestling. Tim Elliott, he's known to pop around those scenes. She's in Vegas. She's been doing that. I don't know how seriously she's been taking her career. You take a fight with a 44-year-old, you'll win it. Now all of a sudden you got a UFC call-up. You got to get down from 155 in your last fight. I mean, she probably walks around at 160 pounds. I think that's pretty fair to say. She probably walks around bigger than Tim Elliott does. Fucking guarantee she does. But now she needs to drop down to 135 on relative short notice against a fighter that's got her outgunned. Her only path to victory, even on a full camp with a favorable matchup, is she's got to get the fight to the ground and get on top of it. She's not great off her back. Her striking is not great. She's decent in the clinch, but she needs to just peel you to the ground, get on top of you. And with Avila just seems too strong. Takedown defense is too good.
And her grappling's pretty
likes to wrestle as well. Grappling looks solid. So I think that she'll use her grappling to stuff out Mazany's attempts, break away from the clinch, keep it standing. And as far as standing goes, it kind of probably will remind you of the Macy Chason fight, where it's like maybe not the knockout, maybe not an early knockout like that, but it's like with a bigger fighter in front of her, not a bigger fighter, but a superior striker in front of her, someone that can hold their ground, and she's not able to just get a hold of you and slow down the action. She is outgunned. She is in trouble. I think Avila gets the job done. I think you have a good parlay, but again, we talk about the odds as of the time of the recording. And this is one where it's like the people in the know jumped on it right away, and now it's sitting at a pretty reasonable price tag.
Yeah, I'm seeing it as high as minus 600 as we record this on Wednesday night. That's getting pretty high. That's an 85% win probability. I feel like she probably wins 9 out of 10 if I'm being completely honest. So you could go up to minus 900, but of course, what are you really adding to parlays at that point? But yeah, if you want to get in and you want to add her to parlays in the minus 500, minus 550 range, up to 600, I think that's probably where I draw the line. It's still pretty high, but I don't see many paths for Gina Mazany here on short notice, cutting a bunch of weight after being way higher in quarantine, and her boyfriend didn't look all that good. Like, I think all the things line up for Julia Avila, and I think Avila, I got the sense that maybe the bright lights kind of got to her in that first fight. And Pani Kianzad is a much better opponent than one Gina Mazany. So I love the parlay. So it was Avila and Curtis Blades next week. So spoiler alert, I really like Curtis Blades next week. Moving on down, we've got Tyson Nam taking on Zaruk Adashev. Nam minus 180, Adashev plus 140. Who do you got?
This is really throwing me off last minute because we were obviously getting Tyson Nam versus Ryan Benoit, and that one's a little easier to cap. Tyson Nam, I mean, they both actually have similar skill sets, wrestler, boxers. Benoit kind of looks for a way out, and Tyson Nam has no idea what a way out is. Like, he goes for it 100% of the time. Probably going to leave Tyson Nam in that spot. Thought he had the better wrestling, thought he had the better striking, thought after a first competitive first round, he'd be okay. Now, we go to Zaruk Adashev. Zaruk Adashev is a total question mark in that he could win this fight if the fight stays standing. If for whatever reason Tyson Nam decides not to stand with this guy and take him down, which is the move, well, then he should obviously have him. I just don't know that I can trust him to do that. His UFC debut against Sergio Pettis, well, obviously the path to victory over Sergio Pettis is the same thing. Take him down. Don't stand with them. Don't strike with them. You can have limited spots of success, but you need to get a hold of this guy and get him to the ground. His inability to even attempt one single takedown allowed him to just get beaten up 3 rounds at range by Sergio Pettis. Adashev will do exactly that to him unless he decides to get this fight to the ground. Now, Adashev just has like massive question marks all over him, like dude, up and down. So he's from Uzbekistan. He's a hand-to-hand combat stylist. He's a kickboxing stylist, combat sambo stylist. This guy does not fight professionally. He's got. It's all tournament martial arts, right? It's like, he did good in this tournament, he did good in that tournament, hand-to-hand combat tournaments, low-level tournaments, might I add. But that's it, right? In 2014, he wins a green card lottery. Didn't even know what the fuck that was. Looked it up. The USA does like 55,000 of them a year, something like that. You apply for it, you can win a green card lottery. Motherfucker wins the green card lottery. They move him from Uzbekistan to Brooklyn, New York. From there, geez, you know what? He's got a striking base. He does a little bit of kickboxing. Glory, he's fought twice for Glory. He's 2-0 for Glory. They list him as 13-3. He lists himself as 16-3 as far as MMA or as far as kickboxing goes. In MMA, he lost his debut. Again, guy just took him down and submitted him. That was at 135. After that, he dropped down to 125, wins 3 in a row. He's got okay power. Bellator was using him. Weird that they didn't sign this guy. Weird that he just floated out from New York, especially last minute on a UFC card. That's all strange to me, but you can watch his last couple of Glory fights online and dude, the dude is a fucking decent striker. He likes throwing spinning techniques. He's a little bull. He's only 5'5", so he's going to be giving up 2 inches in height over to his opponent Tyson Nam. And Tyson Nam has fought at 135 before, whereas this dude's a natural 25er. The fight's taking place at 35. They're billing it as 225s, moving up to 35. But Nam has fought at 35. Keep that in mind. This guy's undersized. Now, Tyson Nam's Hawaiian, but the guy has literally been living in Portland, Oregon, the last 10 fucking years. He knows how to wrestle. He's an adequate wrestler. He spent time in Russia fighting the best Russian guys, defending takedowns, grappling with these guys, putting it on them. He's got the skills. He just needs to fight a proper game plan. Because I tell you what, this kid, Adashev, Zaruk Adashev, he's fast. He's fast. He doesn't seem to have a cardio issue. He'll just stay in your face and just throw. Not the most powerful punches, but he'll keep on you. He'll throw volume. This is Tyson Nam's problem. Both of his UFC fights, Kara Frost and Sergio Pettis. He stands in front of his opponent, lets them get off prior to him throwing his own punches. He'll let you land 2 or 3 before he tries to throw the counter. Even in Russia, he made a career out of it. He waits on the counter, but that's his problem. He waits a little too long. So this kid's coming out of way left field. And I was hoping to get him for dog price. I'd be willing to take a poke at him. They got a 115 square across the map. It all comes down to Tyson Nam and his willingness to wrestle. That's the move. You need to get a hold of this kid, peel him to the ground, and after that, you fish out of water. Mm-hmm. But just like guys fighting Giga Chikadze, remember Giga Chikadze, what the fuck are you doing? Take him down. Some guys, they just don't do it, and they get outstruck. That could be the case here. So reluctantly, as of right now, I'm gonna take Tyson Nam. But honestly, if Adashev becomes a dog or if Nam becomes a dog, it might just be a dog or pass text.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, trusting on Tyson Nam to go for takedowns, that sounds risky.
That's the problem, dude. It's that at least in his last fight, he attempted a couple takedowns. At least in his last fight against Kai Kara-France, it's like, oh, okay, he's making some type of effort to get the fight to the ground, but he's 0 for 4, so he couldn't get the fight to the ground. He should have a much easier time getting this kid down than Kai Kara-France. However, he has to go back with that same mindset of take this guy down, because flashy striking creates a lot of openings. Catch one of these kicks. This guy's he's off balance all the time. He just throws so much crazy shit. The opening will be there. It's just you have to trust in Tyson Nam's ring IQ, and that has been, iffy at best in the past.
I mean, he's going to end up being DraftKings chalk this week. He's $8,000, and he's a minus 180 favorite right now. With the fight just getting booked, that'll probably end up being like minus 225. Maybe even higher if it picks up a little bit of buzz or whatever around the industry. So yeah, maybe just if you don't want to bet on that fight, maybe just a lot, your risk on Tyson Nam towards DraftKings. He's going to be super popular, but interesting play. We'll get to all of that at the end. We have Jordan Griffin taking on Derek Minner. Jordan Griffin minus 165 favorite. Minner can be half plus 145. Kind of see this being like a bit of a grappling fest. And my biggest question is if Minner can keep up a pace for more than like 7.5 minutes. Because if they get into a bit of a scramble fest, Jordan Griffin loves that style of fight. Like, I mean, he was getting his ass beat by TJ Brown. And then he found that submission, which is like, it wasn't a great look, but TJ Brown kind of looked pretty good, at least for 7 minutes. I think Derek Minner, he kind of did the same thing in his like UFC debut. Came out real hot, and then the guy slows right down. So give me Jordan Griffin in this. I think it could be really dicey watching the fight play out at the beginning. He could be losing some of the exchanges early. I think he will come out in the end, though, and start to take over a little bit later at the end of round 1 and start to cruise in round 2 and 3. What about you?
I got Jordan Griffin all day, and then the line opens at 230, and I was like, yeah, shit, and so does everybody else. And now it's sitting at 165. What am I missing? This is extremely playable now. I like it.
That'll
Derek Minner is...
eh?
Yeah. Wow. Derek Minner. Money's coming on Minner because people know this guy's banger bust. He absolutely goes for it. He's got a sneaky submission game. And just look at all those dicey positions. He had Grant Dawson in. Grant Dawson is proven. Grant Dawson is a good prospect. And this guy's out grappling him the first round, putting it on him. He's a guy that's fought top-end competition. Herbert Burke, Tuco Willis, like decent enough guys for Chico Camus, Jesse Arnett. The problem is that in all of his fights, his whole career, Paul, is the exact same blueprint. He comes out, guns a-blazing, either puts you out or you put him out. If you look at his record, and you look at the whole thing, his first 11 fights, 10 of them end in the first round, right? And he loses 3 of them. He loses those in the first round. Submitted, minute 13 in the first, submitted 3:22 in the first, submitted 4:30 in the first. Just in the beginning of his career, he's a first-round kind of guy. Fights guys like Luke Sanders, who also finishes him. Jesse Arnett, our boy from Canada, chokes him out. That's how it goes. Now let's look at more recent times. This fight already fucking happened, so this is a rematch. Jordan Griffin already fought Derek Minner, LFA 34. In the fight, it plays out like the most classic of Derek Minner fights. Derek Minner goes out there, he takes down Jordan Griffin in the first round, and he probably attempts 4 or 5 different submissions on him in the first round, right? Jordan Griffin defends all of the submissions, gets back up to his feet, and then Derek Minner, who can't strike, by the way. Derek Minner is such a bad striker, he openly took Herbert Burns down because he didn't want to fucking strike with him, and then got triangle choked, obviously. The guy's not a striker. And so in the first Griffin fights, he does what he always does. He puts it on Griffin for the first round. At the end of the first round, Griffin's not even out of it, dude. He scrambles. He's back up to his feet. Now in the second round, Minner falls right apart. He can't defend himself. He's tired. He got his back up against the cage. He's getting pounded on. He flops to the ground, and Jordan Griffin goes for a leg lock and then transitions it to a loose, half-ass arm bar. This is Jordan Griffin we're talking about. Arm bar. And Minner just taps. Just wants out. This is who he is, man. His last 5 fights have ended in the first round. He's 3-3 over that course of time. Like that, it's just who he is.
Yeah.
So now you think, okay, well, people are betting him on the basis of he's going to try to go blow through Jordan Griffin and give an honest effort himself. The problem is that A, we've seen this shit before. He tried to do it once and it didn't fucking work. And the thing is, B, Dan Ige and Chaz Kelly are much better grapplers than Derek Minner, and they couldn't put him out. So who's to say that Juan Archuleta, Bellator veteran, guy's fucking sick, right? Dan Moret's the only guy that's ever finished this kid, or has finished him. And that was the last guy to finish him, I should say. That's 6 years ago, right? Since then, he's developed. He's not a kid anymore. He's growing. He's coming off his first win in the UFC. So that's big because obviously gets the proverbial monkey off your back. You're feeling a little bit confident. TJ Brown did the same thing. Ige wants to take him down. Skelly wants to take him down. Brown wants to take him down. These guys got the same game plan on him, but he's defensively sound on his back. We don't want him on his back, but he defends himself. That quite literally is all he fucking has to do. He just literally needs to defend the submissions for one round. Minner will gas out, and when Minner gasses out, it'll be the same thing. He'll either TKO him, or Minner doesn't really get TKO'd. What he does is when he's going to get TKO'd, he gives you a fluke-ass submission, which is why he shows so many submission losses on his record, as opposed to he should have got TKO'd last time against Griffin. He gives him the armbar. It shows armbar. Regardless, Griffin's going to, I think, he's going to put him on. Minner's not even a big 45er as well. That's going to play against him. I just honestly feel like Griffin's been fighting better level of competition, giving a better account of himself, and, I mean, writing's on the wall for how to beat Derek Minner. So Wine's 165. I think that's a great price tag. And I think that Jordan Griffin has to be the play in the spot.
Couldn't agree more. And finally, we have Anthony Ivy taking on Christian Aguilera, not to be confused with Christina Aguilera. Ivy minus 190 favorite. Aguilera can be had for plus 165. Ivy was supposed to be, he was the late replacement who never got his chance to shine. Last week, obviously, I was on Heinisch last week, and then my bet was voided, and then I was too spooked to go back after it. I mean, I should have, you know what? Immediately when I saw
an email, you should have sent an email and been like, "What the fuck, man? You voided my bet. I was out of town this week. What the fuck?"
Yeah, I'm not like that though. You know,
the fight happened.
I don't know any sort of situation like that. I've never seen a corner have to get pulled out due to COVID, like an infectious disease. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, but I really thought as soon as I saw Ian Heinisch absolutely just mollywop Gerald, I was just like, to myself, I'm like, you just decided to not follow through with a bet and a good read that you had because you thought that the guy was afraid of like COVID-19 or like was going to be shook by it. I'm like, the guy went to Rikers. The guy spent some time at Rikers Island. Do you think he's going to be scared of COVID-19? Like, I mean, he's been grappling with all of his teammates all the time, but the guy went to Rikers. There's nothing on earth that scares Ian Heinisch. So, like, that one's on me. I was going to really, really love Gerald Meerschaert, especially as a DraftKings play last week, because Anthony Ivy's takedown defense is really bad. Like, like Gerald was just going to run right through this guy, but that was because it was at 185 pounds. This is at 170. Christian Aguilera coming in. He didn't look the worst. I watched a little bit of tape on him. He fights usually at 170. Probably not the biggest, though. Probably could make 155 if all things played out right. And, yeah, Ivy came in at 168.6 last time. So he's not exactly a 170. Can Aguilera, I don't know if you've done very much research on this guy. Like, can he grapple? Can he wrestle at all? Because if he can, he's got a really legitimate shot at getting the victory here. Because I am not paying, for what I've seen in terms of the grappling department from Anthony Ivy, I am not paying 190 to watch my money go up in flames like that.
Yeah, I would feel much more comfortable betting on Phil Ivy because Phil Ivy is a natural-born winner. He just finds a way to win. But now we have Anthony Ivy, not quite nearly as appealing. 190, you say? Definitely not quite as appealing. But he's got the skills to win this fight for sure. Christian Aguilera, he's a big bomber. That's what he's got. He's got a big right hand, overhand right especially. Yeah, he could throw the uppercut a little bit. He's shown that a couple fights ago. I think that Ricardo Sexeas fight in LFA. But, man, I mean, he's very one-dimensional in that he needs to line you up with that right hand, put you out with that right hand. The problem is that he's not one of these Mike Perry type guys or one of these guys that just stays in your face, takes in a ludicrous amount of damage in order to line you up with that one punch. can't take a great punch himself. First career loss, Darren Smith Jr., knocked out in the first round. Third career loss against Matt Sales, 151 into the first round. Third career loss against Richard Leroy. Actually, that's his fourth career loss. Fourth career loss to Richard Leroy. He's knocked out in 2 minutes. So right there, it's like, okay, he's been knocked out 3 times in the first round. He was in the LFA 59 main event against David Mashab. This was just last year, knocked out first round. Beyond that, though, he got rocked hard. Ricardo Saxeas dropped him with the left hand, but he won the fight. So that doesn't show knockout loss. He got dropped with the left hand. And his last fight against Glaucio Elizario, he's in trouble a little bit in the first round, getting touched up. So that in line is his fault. He's not a wrestler. He's not really a grappler. He comes at you. He closes the pocket. He makes it a gritty fight. He tries to land that big bombino right hand on you. That's his move. His cardio doesn't really check out. He either knocks you in the first round. If you can check him at any point, he's not going to stand up to the test.
No,
and the later the fight goes, the more he starts to make just like bigger, more obvious problems.
Blunders.
Looking at Anthony Ivy, when they announced that Ivy was going to come in against Mearshart, I just didn't really have time to tape him properly then. I was hoping that the fight would just keep on with Heinisch. I'd already spent time on that. We like Heinisch. The fight happens great. I didn't really look at Ivy, but just going through my
Gerald would have killed him, man. Gerald would have smashed.
People did not like Anthony Ivy whatsoever. Looking at it myself personally now, I don't mind this guy. He's actually got 2 things that I like.
You think what? Gerald was gonna?
He's got a great gas.
Gerald was gonna crush him though.
You know what? I disagree with that, man. And I'll tell you why real quick. Not that I wouldn't. Okay, that's fair. Gerald's got a couple things going against him. One, he's got bad cardio. B, his takedown defense, although he stuffed Win a couple times, takedown defense, not great. And it turned out in Heinisch is not a murderous power puncher. It literally just took one shot over the top. Mearshart crumpled. So Anthony Ivy throws bombs. Anthony Ivy's a decent wrestler from what I can see. And Anthony Ivy does not tire. Guy's got fucking great gas tank. So yeah, Mearshart should have been the favorite. Mearshart probably does win that fight. However, I wouldn't have, if they gave me 2-1 Mearshart, I wasn't going to fucking put him on parlays, buddy. That's for damn sure. And they wouldn't have given you a great price. So anyways, looking at this really quick, Anthony Ivy, Texas-born guy, and he's been mostly spending the majority of his time on the Texas regional scene. He has fought for LFA. He has fought for Bellator. His Bellator lost Jason Langelier. He actually avenged that fight. Langelier also decent prospect himself, so not a bad win. But I want to go back to the Willis Black fight. So it's his last fight, WXC 82 Warrior Wednesday. It's a show out of Michigan, and you can watch it on Fight Pass. So he comes into that fight. He's the Fury FC champ. He's taking on Willis Black. Willis Black is the WXC champ from Michigan. So he's leaving his comfort zone to go to Michigan to make this fight possible. And you know what? The guy just sticks takedown. He just goes for it. He's got a decent chin. He can take a punch. He's never been knocked out. Both of his pro losses are by submission. And I don't think he really has to worry about a submission against Christian Aguilera, who's shown no propensity to submit guys, Paul. He really just tries to line you with the big right hand. So I think this guy's good enough to take the punch. And it's the fact that he'll keep going. Like even when Willis Black clips him a couple times. Willis Black, by the way, can crack. When Willis Black's hitting him, he bides his time, he covers up, he waits, he dips under for a takedown. If he doesn't get the takedown, he keeps going. If you end up on top of him, he works his way back up, he tries to take you back down. I fucking like that. I like that style when you're fighting low-end guys. Christian Aguilera is a low-end guy. Mm-hmm. Ivy's game plan of just stick to this guy like glue and just keep trying to grind him, that'll work well. And also with Ivy breaks Willis Black by the third round. Like, this guy's just his cardio can't. But the fact that he finishes him in the fourth and just mauls him, and the commentators, because by the way, it's Michigan commentators, they're watching their own guy happen. They tout the fuck out of Willis's Black takedowns. Oh, this guy's a career wrestler. Oh, people don't know how good his takedown. He gets fucking clowned out there by Anthony Ivy, who left Texas to go to Michigan to make this fight happen. There's a lot to like about him in that regard. And so yeah, geez, minus 190 is a terrible price. 2 debuting guys, unproven, first fight on the card. Mm-hmm. Jesus, it should be a pass. However, just breaking down from what I've seen, Aguilar is just way too one-dimensional with the power punch, doesn't have a great chin, doesn't have a great gas tank. Meanwhile, Anthony Ivy, wrestling's okay, but more than it being okay is that he's just going to stick to it. Like he has no quarrels about, oh man, this fight's getting boring. He just keeps on you, breaks you down. That's going to be the way to get the win. And because he's never been knocked out, I think he should be good enough to at least take a couple shots from Aguilera, and that's what Aguilera relies on. So minus 190, again, not a great price tag, but Anthony Ivy is the play.
DraftKings breakdown for UFC APEX. I versus Calvillo. How do you want to go through this? You want to go highest price to lowest price? You want to go main event through curtain jerker? Your call.
Well, I got that document you sent me. So do you want to just go through it fight by fight, starting at the top, and just go through just really quick?
Take it away, my man.
Okay, Jessica Cynthia Calvillo. This one's going the distance, 8,300, 7,900 respectively. It's like, I don't know if there's a huge edge out of here. You want them to mix in wrestling. Maybe Calvillo could mix in a little bit of wrestling. It just won't be enough. She doesn't have the strike output. Jessica lands, let's say she lands 100 significant strikes over 5 rounds for 8,300. Yeah, probably a decent little poke. If you can get some finishes on this card, this one's probably earmarked to not be a finish. It is a close fight. You could be on the opposite side of it. I'm just not feeling it personally. Vettori over Roberson. Vettori, 8,800. He's overpriced. He's not much of a finisher himself. Yes, we talked about he's got the skills to win this fight. Yes, we'd like to see him get takedowns and work Roberson on the ground. Problem is, if he gets 2 or 3 takedowns, which is the most he's going to get, Roberson's not really scrambling back up. I don't think that Vettori's the kind of guy that goes for multiple transitions. He's not trying to pass. He's not really trying to submit you. He's just trying to hold you down, keep position. Not enough for me for the 8,800. I got to pass. Merab Dvalishvili at 9,200. You're always going to want some exposure to this guy. Problem is, he's going to be a very high ownership because of just the amount, his history of just landing just a gross amount of takedowns. Mm-hmm. I truly believe that it won't be as many takedowns as we're all thinking here. Borg's not physically strong enough to just power himself back up to the ground. So Dvalishvili might get 3 takedowns and a little bit of striking, and that might be enough to win. So 9,200, it goes to decision, which I'm thinking it's going to go. He gets a decision with 3 or 4 takedowns, very little ground transitions on there, very little ground and pound. I mean, I could see this one being high ownership. Dvalishvili, he wins. He's good on a cash game team, but he's not the optimal lineup on a GPP. Fili, I'd love to play him. I think 225 on the money line is really good. $8,600, it's not terrible. Problem is, I can't discredit Jourdain's durability. Jourdain he's hittable, but again, I don't know. I think that if I got the 8,600, I'm looking for a higher mid-range price guy on a cash game team. Fili's my guy. As far as GPP goes, I want to be a little more risky. He's a bit of a high price tag. Might be out of the question mark there. Espinosa, Mark De La Rosa. If Espinosa shits in the apple pie and De La Rosa just subs him, then yeah, $7,700, he's going to be a great price tag. Meanwhile, Espinosa, he can get lots of takedowns. He can get significant strikes. He can rack up points. He's just very risky. $8,500. It's kind of reflective of his minus 160. It's just a little too much for me, although I do see him being able to make you happy and get the points, if he does what he's capable of doing. Agapova, 245. You mentioned it's 8,000 apiece?
Agapova, no, it's 87 and 75. And
right,
yeah.
So
Sorry, let me say one thing. We're gonna have a bunch of people going like, right, Ryan Benoit's not supposed to be on that board. I know, but I mean they're adding new prices as I'm recording a show, super late. So I'm just rolling with it this week. Sorry, guys.
No, yeah, totally fine. I think people should understand.
Yeah. Don't play Ryan Benoit, the guy with the big O next to his name on the DraftKings server. Don't play that guy, okay? Sorry, continue.
Yeah, if the UFC can mail it in and throw fights on last minute, then our board guy.
I am the board guy. I'm admitting that I mailed it in on this one because you know what? Actually, I'll tell you after in a second. Sorry, continue.
Okay, going through with Agapova versus Cifers. I actually like Agapova. $8,700 again. It's a little much. She's just striking personified. She's going to throw a ton of volume. She'll go after Cifers. Cifers' best path, like I said, in the clinch, which would slow her down, and that would, cut down the Agapova strikes. I just don't know that Cifers going to stick to it. Agapova could be like a sneaky play. At $8,700, it is a little much. As we talked about 245 on the money line, it is a little bit of much. But because she's debuting, because most people don't remember from Invicta, they remember her from Contender Series, but she didn't give a great account of herself. It's possible she's low ownership and good upside.
Okay.
So I have my eye on that one for sure. Rosa versus Kevin Aguilar. I feel like this one is also going to decision. Rosa's kind of traditionally a lower score unless he gets a submission. I don't see him submitting Kevin Aguilar as much as I need him to just outpoint him over the course of 3. I'm going to have to say pass on both sides. I can see people playing Aguilar in that maybe we think Rosa. And you know what? Rosa actually survived every submission attempt from Mitchell. Bermuda's a submission artist. He got the win over him. Mm-hmm. He's durable enough. He's not getting knocked out in there unless it's, late against a guy like Burgos. He's durable enough that I just don't know that even if I was going to go with Kevin Aguilar, I don't know that he's going to land a bunch of takedowns, a bunch of significant strikes. It's just too much. That's probably a hard pass as well. Avila over Gina Mazany. Because Mazany's taken on short notice. Last time she fought in the UFC, the Macy Chase on fight, she folded up in less than 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. Avila's got numerous advantages. Avila has also been training for this fight because she had whoever that girl was. She was fight Carol.
Carol Rosa.
Right. So this one is actually, we didn't talk about this, so I'll just throw this in really quick. But if you're Julia Avila, right, you win your UFC debut, and then they book you against Carol Rosa. This is right at the end of last year. UFC on ESPN 20, okay? Rosa pulls out. They rebook you a few months later. Now the event is UFC on ESPN 30, canceled due to coronavirus. Then they rebook you against Carol Rosa for UFC on ESPN 32, canceled due to
This is
coronavirus.
like Habib Tony all over again.
Then they rebook her for this card, and she pulls off due to injury. The fact is, though, is that going back from the first Rosa fight until this, it's 8 months, right? 8 months. Now, I'm not suggesting she's been in camp for 8 months. And obviously with coronavirus, things go all over the place. However, she should be more than prepared. And Gina Mazany should not be prepared. So I could see her going out there and getting the finish and scoring a decent amount of points. I think that I would definitely have my eye on Julia Avila. Tyson Nam versus Adashev. I don't think Adashev knocks out Tyson Nam. Adashev really, this could go right back to the Hooper situation, right? You got a guy in Tyson Nam has 30 pro fights. He's fought in Russia. He's fought in Bellator. He's fought in Brazil, where he knocked out the former Bellator champ Eduardo Dantas. He's got a win over Ali Bogatinov, in which he blew his fucking face off, again, in Russia. 30-fight veteran, as I mentioned, versus a guy who has 4 fights, has quite literally beaten fucking nobody, and cannot grapple. Why? And it's even money. Why in your right mind would you take Adashev? But that's where the trap becomes a problem. You can't just discredit him because we don't know as much as we'd like to. And quite honestly, he's got the type of style that Tyson Nam could fall in for that one. So I'm waiting to see if I can get a dog price on one of them, which it's sitting even right now. I don't know. As far as the price goes, I don't think that at 8,000, Tyson Nam, like you said, he'd probably be expensive because people were using that Ryan Benoit price tag. Now, if they get Adashev, I just don't know. I don't know that Tyson Nam, if he's not going to wrestle, and he barely does, he's not going to score a ton. And as far as the striking goes, he could knock you out, but it just doesn't throw enough. This kid's the natural striker. He's probably not going to get caught. I see this one being a low-scoring affair. Griffin versus Derek Minner, I feel like Jordan Griffin is a must-have. He's going to get a finish. It'll probably happen in the second round. $8,900. There'll probably be a lot of ground transitions and crazy stuff. And take the live bet after round 1, because Minner might fuck his style on his ass in the first round.
Yeah.
And then you're going to look at it and be like, holy shit, the judges are looking Minner's up 1 round. And Griffin, no, it doesn't matter. Minner could be up 2 rounds. He's going to gas at some point. When he gasses, he falls apart. Just happens every time. He's fought 30 times. We've seen him this happen.
Minner is
pretty much all 30 fights.
Minner is this week's Charles Bird potentially. I mean, Bird was the favorite and Minner's the underdog, but same type of situation.
That's exactly it. We knew Bird comes out hot in the first round and that he's got a susceptible cardio problem, and maybe you can take advantage of him in the second round. And you know what? His chin's not great. It's not bad, but he gets so tired and overexerts himself, he just falls right apart. I kind of see the same thing. Minner he knows what he's getting brought in for. He's hunting bonuses. The UFC pays this guy $12,000. He doesn't win his fight, so he collects $12,000. Reebok feels bad for him. They chip him another what? $2,500? Is it $3,000 he gets out of that? And he leaves with what? $15,000? Like, he'd have to fight in the UFC 3-4 times, right? Or he could get a fucking bonus, right? And I don't even have to win to get a fucking bonus. I just need to make this a crazy fun fight where people are like, damn, that was fun. And I would make as much as I would. The UFC won't even give me 3-4 fights. They'll cut me long before that. I need to hunt for bonuses. That'll be his undoing. And Griffin's shown durability against better guys, better grapplers like Ige and whatnot. He'll survive the onslaught. He has before. This is a rematch. He has before. Survive the onslaught. Get this guy in the second round. I think at $8,900. I hate to give away my strategy and all that shit, but like, yeah, he's on my lineup. And then Anthony Ivy versus Christian Aguilera. Again, Anthony Ivy, he's not a great price tag at $9,000. However, the flip side to that is that he might be really low ownership. Guys don't want to pay up for that kind of money for a guy that's UFC debut, first fight on the card, don't really know anything about him. I was going to fade the shit out of him against Jiro Mearshard, and now I'm betting him as a near 2-1 favorite over, I mean,
that was my exact. I was looking for any sort of reason to try to fade him, but it sounds like I shouldn't.
Yeah, and I want underdogs as much as the next guy. We tried to get 3 last week. Didn't obviously work out. I mean, we got a couple dogs. But it goes back to, like, some cards, you don't like any dogs. Some cards, you like 4 or 5 dogs. Looking at this card, I'm kind of reaching for a dog. But this ain't it. Just because Christian Aguilera has that power, I don't think it's enough for me to bank him as that dog. And I think that Anthony Ivy, with relentless wrestling, but not great top control, you get up a lot, right? And he just keeps taking you down. And as we talked about, low-end, mediocre fighters in greasy slop fest with 8 takedowns is the way to fucking win these things, especially if other people are going to choose to pass on him based on price tag and, just the unknown factor of him. So definitely worth a look at 9,000 for Anthony Ivy. So
Aguilera is not a genie in a bottle, is what you're saying.
Well, yeah. Not a genie in a bottle, but I can't. The last thing there is, he would be considered a punt because he's one-dimensional and he tries to line you up. Anthony Ivy hasn't been knocked out. I don't think it lands. But again, for $7,200, if you did have Aguilar as a punt on when you're playing multiple lineups and he does land the big shot and gets the KO, he will also be very low ownership and has high upside. But I just don't see the fight playing out like that. I think that Ivy grounds and takes him down, puts him through the motions, grinds him down, and either finishes him late or just comfortably wins that 30-27.
So here's the thing. This week, I will be MIA during the actual fights themselves. I'm going portaging. I'm going to be like out in the middle of nowhere. I don't expect to have any sort of cell phone service. So, one, it's good in the sense that I bet Jessica and I expect a lot of, like, if she loses and it looks bad, I expect a lot of people to criticize. Like, I welcome that. I deserve it if it goes wrong. But I won't be able to, like, it should be able to dampen I'll probably be able to tell based on how many Twitter notifications I have. If it's over if it's over a couple hundred, I lost. If it's like under 100, I won. So yeah, I'm not gonna. It makes it difficult, and here's the thing. And like this is like the first card in a long time I haven't been able to watch live, and I won't have access to like phone and stuff. It makes it hard to make DraftKings lineups. Like if I'm leaving on Friday at 6 a.m., I'm gonna be out in the woods. Anything happens, a fight drops out. It's not like when you're doing parlays and stuff that just gets voided. Like you get 0 points, you're basically just lighting your money on fire. So, I mean, I'll probably have like one lineup in there just as a punt, and hopefully it all stays together. But yeah, it's not going to be a heavy DraftKings week for me. It's an interesting DraftKings week. I think it's hard to find the people because none of these people typically score all that well. So it's going to be difficult to find the optimal. I mean, it's hard every single week to find the optimal, but this week specifically, it's like you don't have too many people that you can really depend on. And we were talking about guys like Merab. Usually Merab's like 8,400, 85, and he's a smash play. You play him in every single lineup because this guy can score 135 points. Against Borg, the style could make it, he doesn't have to get 11 takedowns because Borg can't get back up because the size disparity is too big. So very, very challenging DraftKings week for sure. That's about all I've got. Why don't you hit them with the PRP and we'll get out of here.
Yeah, so just to rack up yours, it's going to be a tough week, obviously, with TK. Because, if I ask anybody in their right mind, do you want Dvalishvili? Do you want Ivy? You take Dvalishvili. But like we're saying, styles could be the difference. And Borg could put up a little more, he might not get scored as much as a guy who's kind of out of there. But, hit him with the PRP. Like we said, it's mostly all favorites. But we are officially going to go with. We're going to say Jessica I. I'll roll with you on there. I was leaning towards her anyways, but you seem confident. I'm thinking Jessica I, Marvin Vettori. We're going to go with, obviously, Merab Dvalishvili, Andre Fili, Jourdain Espinosa, Maria Agapova, Charles Rosa will probably be the lone dog, Julia Avila. I'm going to take Tyson Nam, but again, I'm definitely waiting on price, and I want to see weigh-ins on that one as well. Jourdain Griffin, that'd be my personal play of the week, I think. I got a feeling about him anyway. Then Anthony Ivy. So I mean, and I want to throw in just one last greasy theory for you, Paul, right before we go.
Love it.
Right?
Let's hear it.
My lone dog play, Charles Rosa, right? Debut in the UFC, lost to Dennis Seaver. Next fight, beat Sean Soriano. Then he lost to Yair Rodriguez. Then he beat Kyle Bochniak. Then he lost to Shane Burgos. Then he beat Manny Bermudez. Then he lost to Bryce Mitchell. He's literally fucking been rotating wins and losses for like 8 years, dog.
He's pulling the Enjaquani.
He's going to pull in the win.
The Enjaquani effect.
Yeah, where it's
can't see how this doesn't shape. Yeah. There's no way he can't lose if he's on that type of thing, right? That type of stretch.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say history has a way of repeating itself. So we'll see. Anyway, my lone dog play. So.
Any other final thoughts there before we get out of here? Anything else you want to add on?
That's about it. Yeah, unfortunately, you'll be portaging. You're going to miss a little bet in my boy Jourdain Griffin between rounds.
Yeah, I know.
But I mean, best of luck. I know you booked that cottage thing out for like a while ago for your buddy. So that's a little bit downtime.
That's not even this. This is that was already canceled.
Because of the virus?
Like everything, yeah. Yeah, I like everything.
Right.
Yeah, that was a bachelor party. Unfortunately, we're not going on that because it was like 20 different dudes all going up to a place way up north. I mean, well, let's not even get into that.
You're not doing a great job of selling it, Paul.
Let's not even get into that.
20 dudes in the wilderness.
Yeah, I mean, there were people who were uncomfortable with the thought of that. I won't say whether it was me or not. But yeah, anyway, that's it for us this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. For Cody Saftic, I am Paul Shaughnessy saying goodbye and good luck.
Mayo experience! Experience!